So we've all heard the story of Noah and his ark, but how did we even get there? Like, what are the events that transpired to God feeling like he needed to flood his entire creation? Because we find ourselves learning that Adam and Eve just sinned and were banished from the Garden of Eden. Then there's a little time gap all the way till Noah. How do you go from perfect paradise to a near earth-ending flood? Man, that escalated quickly. How we get from point A to point B can be summed up in today's episode of BIMS, BYMBS, Blow Your Mind Bible Stories, baby! I'm your host, Cody Mitchner. Today's story is about the sons of Adam and Eve inheriting their parents' sin nature, separated from God, and taking sin to a whole other level. They definitely one up their parents. It is the story of the world's first murder, and it all goes downhill from there. Adam and Eve got a little busy and had themselves some children. Today's episode involves two brothers, Cain and Abel. Cain was the firstborn and he was a farmer. Abel was number two and he... Yo, this light, bruh. This light. Oh, make it go away. Abel was number two and he became a shepherd. Cain was in charge of the plants and the crops. Sorry. Abel was in charge of the animals. See, my theory is since you got two brothers here, there had to have been a lot of unspoken competition between the two of them. Hey, trust me, I would know. Brothers are constantly trying to one-up one another. They also try to act like being shadowed by the other brothers' accomplishments isn't a big deal. And it doesn't bother them at all. It doesn't bother me no more, but growing up, if I could beat my brother at anything, and I mean anything, I would. And I wasn't gonna let him off the hook. Yo, I would have these fake contests in my head that my older brother had no idea about. He did not even know they were taking place. For example, first one to the car. I would run right in front of him right before he touched that car door, put my hand on the door handle first, and then I'd yell, "Beat ya!" In short, I was annoying. Hey yo, who wrote this? My brother's my biggest fan now, but when we were growing up, we would bicker and argue all the time. Our relationship was strained because of that unspoken competitiveness and tension, on top of us having a 4-year gap in age. Plus, apparently, I was annoying. So it was really hard for him to ever be excited or enthusiastic about what I was doing, or even what I was accomplishing. Man, if y'all got siblings, you could probably relate. In fact, let's get interactive. I want y'all to comment the most annoying thing that your sibling does. My favorite comment's gonna get a shout out in the next video. Look, let me tell you guys the most annoying thing that my brother did growing up. On the weekends and stuff, sometimes he would let me crash in his room. You know, we watch movies before we go to bed. Bro time, 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 bro time. And he had like one of them beds that was like a regular bed, but it had a drawer underneath of his bed that pulled out another bed. Well, he was on his normal bed, and my bed would be the lower one. First thing that he used to do is to roll off from the top section onto my mattress and steamroll me. Bang, bang! I did not appreciate that. The second thing he used to do is when he used to sneeze, it used to come out and it would be so nasty. It would be so nasty. It would be so nasty. And he would always make me look at it. Look, Cain and Abel weren't all that different from me and my brother, and you and all your siblings. But imagine being one-upped by your little brother in front of God. How humiliating must have that been? And how angry would that have made you feel? In Genesis 4, we see that Cain and Abel gave their own unique offerings to God. Think of an offering as a gift to God, expressing to him how thankful we are for him. These gifts are a form of worship from our hearts. And it's recognizing that God got us. He got our backs. Man, God's got us so well that everything that we have can be traced back to him. It's like everything we have and everything that we could give already belongs to God. When you think about offerings to God, you may be thinking about that money. The Bible does not mention a monetary system yet. So Cain and Abel gave what they had. Man, Abel went all out for his first offering. He wanted to express to God how meaningful and impactful God was to him. So he offered God that good. He was in charge of all the animals, so his offering was the best cut of meat that he could possibly get. Man, I'm talking marbled fat that turns to crispy gold brown. Ooh! That fat that melts like butter in your mouth. You can cut it with a spoon. That steak that don't even need seasonings, just a little bit of salt to bring out the flavors of the beef. I'm not talking frozen Omaha steaks out of the back of a pickup truck. I'm talking grade A. I'm talking Salt Bay. Man, this that blow your bank meal that you take your shorty out to. End up dropping your whole paycheck kind of meat. Man, I get goosebumps just thinking about that.
I get them goosebumps every time.
I gotta go make my own real quick.
Like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in the cage, I'ma let out the hood, out the hood, out the wake up, get out the quick, can't stop for the talking. I don't chat with the boys, man so tough, but man's keep walking. Just too sharp with the boys, white girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pine.
And then you got Cain. He offered God some vegetables and plain fruit. Man, Cain didn't put any effort into his offering. He probably gave God the stuff he didn't even want himself, like some steamed Brussels sprouts and broccoli. Side note, if you roast Brussels sprouts, you cut them in half, roast them, put on some kosher salt and some olive oil. It's actually great. But he gave God them steamed Brussels sprouts. So you can probably imagine how God must be feeling right now. Would y'all rather get that steak, that good, or them steamed leftover vegetables? Needless to say, God did not approve of Cain's offering. Cain flipped out and he lost his cool. Instead of just admitting that he did not put his heart and soul into that offering, Cain actually looked at his brother and put all the blame on him. Blamed him for all his problems. Bruh. God saw this and he even warned Cain about his temper. Yo, y'all know what Cain did? He went to Abel instead of taking ownership and accepting the consequences of his mistake. One day, Cain invited his little brother Abel to the fields for a little play date. When Abel wasn't looking, Cain straight up killed him! Bang, 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 bang! The world's first murder. I know I was joking about how annoying siblings can be. Trust me, I would know. But the fact that I want to focus on is that this story is much more than just sibling rivalry. Because if all sibling rivalry ended in this, I would have been dead long time ago. Trust. Nah, this story is about anger, resentment, rebellion, and jealousy. It's about not owning up to your own mistakes. It's about sin and separation from God. Sibling rivalry is one thing, but to kill your own brother, that means you got some underlying issues you gotta work out. God even told Cain he needs to look out for this sin. God said, check yourself, bro, before you wreck yourself, bro. Yet he proceeded to commit even more sin. Yo, that's like a judge telling you after you messed up that you gotta be more careful. You gotta set on that straight path. But then the second you go free, you're off stealing Little Debbie snacks at the Royal Farms again. Yo, them joints good though. Then you get caught. You appear in front of that same judge again. And he looks at you like, yo, I gave you all the answers to the test and you still failed? We all too often fail because the answers to these tests oftentimes involve checking the person that we see in the mirror. It is so easy to blame other people for our issues. It was so easy for Cain to blame Abel for making him look bad in front of God, when in reality it was Cain's own daggone fault. But it is what it is. God asked Cain, where is your brother? Cain was like, oh brother, where art thou? I'm not my brother's keeper. Man, I don't look after him. I'm not his babysitter. Cain lies to God. You see, sin breeds more sin. The more sin you do, the more sin you gotta do. And why are people always lying to God? Gee! That's wild. God tells Cain to listen. You hear that, Cain? That is the sound of your brother's blood crying out to me from the ground. What have you done, Cain? Let me get some music! Just like his parents Adam and Eve, Cain was cast away. God had to punish Cain. He was sent away even further, left to wander for the rest of his life. But God still demonstrated his love and care for Cain. You see, being banished, Cain was worried about getting jumped in the streets. He thought he was surely gonna get attacked and maybe even killed. So God gave him a mark signifying his protection. Man, Cain messed up. He literally committed the world's biggest sin thus far. Yet God, in his judgment, still extended grace to Cain. Cain did not get the true punishment that he actually deserved. I really like this story on surface value because there's a lot of easy takeaways. Don't murder. But when you get to really digging in, this is a story that blows your mind. We are reassured here that God will always love us even when we fail him. The one who created us in his image is often let down by our sin, yet he still looks out for us. God also called Cain out. He warned him about his sin. We all got problems. Is your internal conscience nudging you right now? Listen, God bridged the gap and he reconnected himself through, spoiler alert, Jesus. But did you know that God can intercede and support people? Something called the sneak peek Holy Spirit. So, is God telling you that you need to figure out that issue before it gets too big and uncontrollable? Do you feel his presence when presented right and wrong? God is trying to give you the answers to the test. All you gotta do is listen. If a man can murder his own brother, it's only gonna get worse from there. Year after year, sin stacked upon sin. That is how you get to a global flood where all of humanity gets wiped out except for one family, which we're gonna tackle in next week's BIMS BYMBS, baby! Until next time, remember whose you are.